Item 8, citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topic business related to city business. No one has signed up. So we'll move to item 9A. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 1039, a resolution expressing objection to illegal gaming on the Muscogee Creek Nation allotment owned by Steve Bruner and located between the Creek Turnpike and Tucson Street. Beth Ann?
Yes, sir. 2 meetings ago, the council discussed the possibility of passing a resolution objecting to illegal gaming on the Bruner tract. You may recall that, over the last few council meetings, we've had this on for discussion. Since the most recent council meeting, staff had an opportunity to meet with representatives from the Muscogee Creek Nation, and as a result of that, we were able to formulate this resolution. Some of the highlights that are contained within the resolution, initially it expresses the council's objection to illegal gaming on this particular tract that's owned by Steve Bruner. It's actually a Muscogee Creek Nation allotment. It also expresses its support for the leadership of the Muscogee Creek Nation and expresses your appreciation specifically for taking measures to investigate and address illegal gaming within its jurisdiction. That was something that was discussed at length in the meeting with the principal chief, the first, or the attorney general, the first assistant, and thank you, sorry, and the speaker, the mayor, and the city manager. They indicated a number of measures that they had implemented to move forward to address it. This particular resolution also authorizes Stephen Bugg, the City Sovereignty Council at McAfee Taft, to send a letter objecting to illegal gaming on this particular allotment, as well as to the Department of the Interior and also the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And the reason that that is so important is because in order for there to be a lease of this particular tract, it's going to have to be approved by the BIA and the Secretary of the Department of the Interior. And so we're not aware that actually has been accomplished. And then the National Indian Gaming Commission, of course, the importance of that particular move is to advise them that we object to illegal gaming on that. It also empowers the city manager to take any and all action to address illegal gaming and also to look towards the health, safety, and welfare of Broken Arrow residents. And I put all the factual information in the recitals. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So my first question is, and we've talked about this for years, but in the context of this resolution, we talk about illegal gaming, but would there be any issue if we change that just to make it legal gaming? Because my concern is that the tribe, the Creek Nation, for whatever reason, could decide that they are in favor of this, and whatever we're doing tonight could be it for naught, because we've now put the word illegal gaming on there, and all of a sudden everything that they do there becomes legal. If it's through the approval of the Creek Nation, National Indian Gaming Commission, all the necessary checks and balances, it becomes legal gaming. And we've made a motion or a resolution for illegal gaming.
Right, and if I could address that.
Okay.
Clearly, it has been communicated to the city manager that the Creek Nation is asserting jurisdiction over this particular tract. And it becomes illegal on many levels, based on failure to get approval from the UNIGC, failure to, and I was advised recently that the Kyaligis, that they have not paid their compact dues with the state of Oklahoma. So there are many, many ways which result in this being illegal. The thing is that in terms of legality of resolutions, this is rock solid, because at the present time, any actions would certainly constitute illegal gaming. If the Creek Nation decides to move forward with certain approvals for gaming on that particular tract, that's something that the council would have no authority to regulate or contest. I don't believe. I felt like it communicated a positive message to the tribe because they do seem to be taking measures to address it at this juncture. And so if it appears that sometime in the future that it is going to move in that direction, you certainly and absolutely could pass a subsequent resolution. But based upon our meeting, and the city manager and the mayor may disagree with this, but the tribal representatives and leadership seem very, very committed to not having gaming at this particular tract.
Well, and I think that's, first I want to thank the fact that the tribe came and met with us. We had Principal Chief Floyd, we had the Speaker of the National Council, the Attorney General, and the first Attorney General came and met with us, and they were very animate about the fact that they did not want illegal gaming. And that's what they are calling it. That's what they are working against. They really do not support, from what they told us, they do not support any kind of illegal gaming. And if they don't sanction the gaming, it's illegal. That's another thing that has to happen. It's got to go through the nation. This is sovereign land for the Creek Nation, so they are completely against it, and told us that they are willing to take many measures, ones they can't tell us and ones that they could reveal, but they are very animate about trying to make sure this doesn't happen. And so I think, and they consider it illegal gaming because there's not any permission from their nation to game there. And so I really, that's how they're going against it as far as illegal gaming. And I do think Beth Ann is correct that we start with illegal gaming and get this shut down. And if some legal gaming tried to happen in that area, then we'd have a different resolution.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Have the Creek Nation then does not rejects the notion of concurrent jurisdiction with the Kialiji tribe, which I think has been proven out by the courts as well. But in any event, they reject that and would fight against that assertion of concurrent jurisdiction.
Yes.
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 Well, I certainly appreciate the Creek Nation's involvement, and because I know when it comes down to it, just from a lay person's point of view, they're the ones that's going to make the jurisdiction to make the calls, on that. I was a little bit confused too about the illegal gaming because, if they could make it legal, I mean, we're still opposed to it, the gaming. So that brings up a question: is there some gaming? Have we been notified of any gaming that's going to take place on there that would be legal gaming?
Yeah, we have not been notified of any
Okay.
gaming, but from what I understand from our meeting that we had is that the Creek Nation sees this as illegal gaming because they don't have permission.
Okay.
They don't have permission from NIGC. They don't have any permission from the Creek Nation. The Muscogee Creek
Okay.
Nation has not given them permission to game on their sovereign land.
Okay.
So their position is, what they told us, their position is that they are against this, against any illegal activity, even things beyond gaming.
Of course, from our perspective, certainly from my perspective, you see the gaming taking place all over state, but usually it's outside the city limits of cities. You go to Bartlesville or go to whatever cities, and this is in the city of Broken Arrow, and it affects the surrounding property. It affects the turnpike. So there's several levels of concern that we have, and I really appreciate you guys working with the Creek Nation, and the Creek Nation's willing to work with this because it's important to the city of Broken Arrow and the surrounding
And we
area.
have expressed our opinion that for the city council in the city that we are against any gaming around residential neighborhoods, schools.
Right.
We don't support that. But I know that the Creek Nation, I feel we're very clear in our meeting that they consider this illegal gaming and they do not support any gaming or any illegal activity that they have not sanctioned
Okay.
on this site.
And I would assume we still don't have any resolution as far as our personnel, police or fire personnel going on site for
We actually discussed that.
services.
We did discuss
There was
that.
the Assistant Attorney General talked about an agreement that was last
it's been a few years that needs to be updated, and the city attorney and the attorney general talked about getting together to make sure that that's consistent with, both entities' guidelines and
A
everything.
mutual aid
We want to add to
agreement.
that.
They're basic,
We would not send since our inspections department did not inspect the facility, we would fight a fire there, but would not send our firefighters inside the building.
Well, that's correct. I mean, the chief has a responsibility, and we did discuss that a little bit. But obviously, if there's some type of incident there, we will render whatever aid we need to render.
As long as we have permission to be there.
Sure, that was my point too.
Well, I just want to say is that, from my perspective, to hear, they have given this a lot of thought, and obviously, they ask us not to completely share what enforcement action they would take, should there be actions, but there wasn't one item that we brought up that they hadn't thought through about what type of action would take. And as the mayor said, it's not just about the gaming. There's other potential activities associated with the restaurant that could happen that they haven't secured their approvals as well. Mm-hmm. So they're prepared to act accordingly should there be something that's not approved there as well. And then they talked about legislation that the tribe or the council was going to consider regarding construction going forward because of things they've learned from this process.
Do they feel they have a mechanism by which to gain entry to that facility to make sure it's been built properly and up to code, at least some level of code?
Yes, and I believe they had something at the National Council this weekend that they were approving for inspections. I don't know if that got approved or not, but they were talking about that. But they do have, it is, from what I understand, it's their sovereign land, so they have the right to go on that land at any time. So even with enforcement, so they do have those rights, and so they are going to exercise whatever right they told us they were going to exercise whatever right they needed to exercise to make sure that illegal gaming does not happen on that location. Have any more questions or discussion? And I will. We have several people signed up that want to speak to this item. First we have, is that
Zane?
Is that Zane Anderson? Yes. He's going to give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
You bet. Zane Anderson. I live at 11464 South 140th East Avenue in Broken Arrow, about a mile from the where the construction has begun. Soon enough, I actually bought 2.5 acres across the street and just got the permission from the city to begin my house and shop there. So excited to build my dream home for my 4 little boys and my wife and I. First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for the time that you've put in to fighting what we don't want in Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow is a very, very unique place to live, a place that my mom and dad both graduated high school from. I'm grateful to be a citizen of Broken Arrow, and we're doing everything that we can to stop things from coming in that we don't want. You all have done an incredible job. I think the growth now in Broken Arrow is greater than it's probably ever been. It's remarkable what you've done with downtown and over by the Bass Pro area. It's absolutely incredible, so thank you. What I want to just briefly speak on is what we're prepared to do as a city council and as citizens if this does get pushed through somehow. Somehow they get it up and running. We need to begin thinking now in a proactive manner of perhaps unorthodox ideas on how to keep them from being successful. This isn't something we want, therefore we don't want it to thrive. We shouldn't just fold over if they were to get it up and going. Some of those ideas would be that we continue to not give them any support with utilities, that we keep that from them to make things slightly more difficult. The other would be, if I'm not mistaken, they have a good amount of land there, but only a portion of it, specifically right where the proposed casino sits now is Indian land. And therefore, the other property that they may want to expand onto would be land that you all would have the ability to not give permits for if they wanted to expand. And the last thing, and perhaps the most unorthodox idea, but I think could be rather successful, would be you establish a toll. I imagine that we have a pretty good easement going down Olive. We could put a toll up as you pull into that casino and charge an insane amount of money if you want to go to that casino. You want to pull in? Well, you thought the Creek Turnpike was expensive at 75 cents. Now you got to pay $50. And they're going to take their parking voucher, and the casino's going to have to pay them that $50 to the individual, and at least we'll be getting some money from this whole deal if it was to get pushed through, and hopefully it would run them out. Thank you so much. This is a great place to live. Thank you.
Next, we have Robert Martinek.
Good afternoon. Robert Martinek, 1921 South Palm Avenue, the great city of Broken Arrow. I rise in support of Resolution 1039 as one of the co-founders of Broken Arrow Citizens Against Neighborhood Gaming. I much applaud the work of this city council, the city manager. I'm certain that they have worked tirelessly on this as well, and the entire staff. For working with the Muscogee Creek Nation. The Indians are our friends here, and they appreciate their good work in working with this body. And I'm really proud of the city of Broken Arrow, because I think that this is a model resolution that cities all across the nation deal with the same issues that unfortunately we dealt with a few years back. And I think this is an excellent resolution and a model for other cities to follow. And I just rise to thank you guys for your effort, and proud to be among you. Thank you.
Next, we have Larry Williamson.
Yes, Council, Larry Williamson, 1217 West Louisville Street. I would like to thank you very much for crafting this resolution, and I encourage you very much to support it and pass it. Like Councilor Lester, I would be in opposition to any casino gaming in the city of Broken Arrow. It's just a negative influence on the culture of the communities, the neighborhoods surrounding them. There are schools nearby and so forth. Had a lot of these discussions several years ago. I just heard about this yesterday. Hadn't had time to drive down to that property. I guess I have a question, but it doesn't make much difference to my argument. But is the restaurant they're talking about, is it at the new building just south of the Turnpike, or the old proposed casino? Okay, it's this thing with the red roof just south of the Turnpike. Okay. I assume that it's still on land owned by an individual who's a member of the Kyalegi tribal town. Is that right?
Creek.
Oh,
And
okay, so
it's allotted land. It's
yeah,
all
originally it was the ownership claimed to be, they were claiming their right to do gaming as a member of the Kyalegi tribal town. Is that does not apply to this case?
Well, it could apply as far as, I think that's who's trying to get the permit, but
Okay, that's fine.
it's actually Creek allotted land. It's not Kyalegi land.
Okay, but the owner of this property is not the individual Creek allottee. He cannot be, unless he's at least, if he was an allottee of majority age when the original Creek allotment of that land was given, he'd be over 135 years old.
His family.
Well,
yeah,
then
his family
he's
is.
owner by conveyance. He's not an allottee. He's probably not a restricted Indian. And I'm going to be out of time here in just a second. One of my points was going to be to ask if the city has a public relations or public information director, if they could put together like just the factual narrative, the facts surrounding this. And for example, the relationship between the Kyalegi tribal town, which they are not part of the Muscogee Creek Nation, period, because they were one of the 3 Creek tribal towns who took up the BIA's offer back in 1939 to opt, if they chose, to become a sovereign independent Indian tribe, and they did. And they are an independent Indian tribe, but they have no territorial jurisdiction in Tulsa County. They're down in Hughes, Okfuskee, and McIntosh County. And as such, it's illegal in Oklahoma for a tribe to operate gaming outside its territorial jurisdiction. One thing I didn't see in this is the state's chief legal officer is the Attorney General. And these Indian tribes they're only enabled to operate casino gaming as a result of some laws in Oklahoma that were changed a few years ago that allowed it. And so it's Oklahoma law they would be breaking. And I understand if they haven't broken the law yet, maybe the Attorney General's not interested. But I was wondering if there'd be a time to, bring in an Attorney General. You can certainly ask, you could have one of our state senators, I'm not sure if it's in Nathan Dom's District 33, but could have a state senator ask for a formal opinion from the Attorney General on the issue, and that would be legal precedent in court if it goes to court. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.
Great comments. Let me just share with the council members and the public, Beth Ann Childs, our city attorney, has had multiple conversations with the state attorney general's office about this to make sure they understand our position as well as the facts as we know them. So I've been very, very pleased with how Beth Ann has really stayed on top of this from multiple different facets, whether it's federally, locally, or at the state level. Everyone that we have a relationship is aware of the city's position on this.
Any more discussion?
I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 1039 and authorize its execution.
Second.
Question second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wimpy?
Yes.
Parks?
Yes.
Lester?
Yes.
Udi?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes, and I do want to thank Beth Ann and
Yes.
Michael and staffs, all the work you've done on this, along with the Creek Nation and their support.